first time we're doing the Canines for Camo podcast in this amazing setting that was somewhat gifted to us by the Warrior's Journey, our friends who help us with shooting sometimes and just, facilities. And Kevin did the podcast for us, Kevin Weaver. I'm joined today, though, by Michael Konieczka, who is here to talk about having one of our dogs. But your story is phenomenal, and we need to get to all of it. But of course, we're going to talk about the beautiful Sunnie, who is your Canines for Camo dog. And we talked previously about why you needed Sunnie. You are actually a little unusual for the Canines veteran. Your need for Sunnie came not from your service, but because you had an accident. Can you tell us what happened?
Sure. In 2000, it was September 23, 2020 to be exact. My daughter and I were driving in Kansas City, Missouri on I-35 northbound. Traffic had stopped. There's a left-hand exit there. We had stopped in the exit. Traffic was backed up. And I looked out the passenger side mirror and I said, "Hey, Pumpkin, I don't think that truck's going to stop." And he hit us dead on 60 miles an hour and just squished her little Toyota, and it collapsed the trunk and collapsed the back seat, and it was the rear passenger headrest came up over my headrest and punched me in the back of the neck and shattered my C5. So my head had shifted 3 inches off center.
Oh, my gosh.
So I was internally decapitated.
Oh, my gosh. So you rushed to the hospital, of course. How long were you hospitalized?
5 months.
Oh, my gosh.
I was taken to KU Med Center in Kansas City, and the phenomenal doctors there, it took them about 25 hours to do the surgery, to begin the surgery. They kept me in trauma for 25 hours to keep me alive. They were struggling to keep me alive. Then Dr. Sean Jackson, magician, who sidelines as a spinal surgeon, they had to rebuild my spine with cadaver bones before they could even fuse it, because you can't fuse if the bones are disintegrated. Put me back together. Several days after the surgery, he came into the room and introduced himself to me. At that point, I was exactly what they were saying I was going to be. They coach you very well when you're a quadriplegic. They coach you. They manage you very carefully. They want you to know what your expectations are, so that when the depression sets in, that you don't be overcome with depression, that your life has changed dramatically. And Dr. Jackson was telling me that, I'll never walk again. I'll never feed myself again. And I'll probably operate a wheelchair through a puff and sip tube. And while he's telling me this, I hadn't had any therapy yet, and I was exactly what they said I was going to be. I couldn't feel anything from my chin down. I couldn't move or couldn't scratch my nose. But I looked at him and I said, "Doc, you don't know me." I said, "I'll walk into your office for a follow-up visit," and made him very uncomfortable when I told him that. It was several days, about a week later, I was transferred to Craig Hospital in Denver, which is a rehabilitation hospital for brain injuries and spinal cord, and spent 5 months there. Very intensive therapies while I was there, and I walked out.
I was going to ask you what your state of mind was in those first few days, but you kind of answered it, and it's not what I expected. I was expecting you to say that you were very depressed and down and sad, but it sounds like you told the doctors, "I'm going to plow through this," no pun intended. "I'm going to come out better than you think I'm going to come out."
Yes. I'm a little different than others, I guess, in that I had a kind of an experience while I was in the hospital. While I was, I was pretty convinced that my daughter was dead. She was driving the car, and I didn't know. And it was COVID, so they would let my wife come to see me, but they wouldn't let my daughters or my son-in-law come to see me. one visitor. That's it. And I couldn't speak because I had some facial damage and I had my bandages on my face and tubes down my throat and everything. So the only thing I could do is really blink this right eye to communicate. So, my wife, Colleen, lovingly kept telling me that Sophia is okay. She's okay. And I kept blinking, no, I don't think she's okay. I know I was in the wreck. If I'm this bad, she can't be okay. And, I just kept blinking, no. So she mama bared it and said, I don't care. You can arrest me if you want. I'm taking my kids up to see him. He's not going to settle down till he sees the kids.
Yeah.
So I realized that my children were all right. My wife was all right. And then I settled down a bit. And I was pretty in and out of it. I was medicated heavily. They were just trying to keep me alive. And I knew I was in an accident. I knew I was a quadriplegic. I knew all that. And I didn't know what time I was going in for surgery at. But while I was in surgery, I passed. And what had happened to me was I woke up in a bright gray room with no doors and no windows. And I knew I was on my way. And I said, no one came to see me or anything. I was just standing there. And so to get the things rolling, I said, I'm not done loving them yet.
Oh, my gosh.
And God was so great. He talked to me in my head. And he said, I'm holding the chicken exit open for you. And there's a lot of people here that are ready to welcome you. The chicken exit up at the top of the roller coaster, you can either go on the ride or you can take the chicken exit.
Yeah.
And I've coached my girls through life that there's chicken exits everywhere. Don't just think there's one up at the top of the roller coaster. If you're on a date and something doesn't feel right, take that chicken exit. If you're on a job and something doesn't feel right, you're at a party and something doesn't feel right, use the chicken exits. They're everywhere.
Yeah, listen to your gut.
So, of course, God used those same words back to me and said, I'm holding the chicken exit open for you. And there's a lot of people here ready to welcome you. And I really felt the pull to go see grandparents and loved ones. But all I could think of to say was the same thing. I said, I'm not done loving them yet. A second time I said it. And he said, well, there's a lot of pain and suffering coming and I can't stop it. And I said a third time, I'm not done loving them yet. And that's when I woke up and there was flashlights in my eyes. He's back with us. So you'll never hear me complain about pain. You'll never hear me complain about weather or anything. I'm just grateful to be here.
I felt some of the emotion in your voice as you were talking about that story.
I try to not cry when I tell the story.
Listen, I mean, that has to be your most profound experience. Of course, the accident is incredibly profound in a negative way, but that experience had to be probably your most profound.
You would think.
Oh, okay. There's another one. Okay.
God's been really good to me. So in this journey, we talk all the time like friends because that's what God is your friend, right? And I was laying there in the first hospital shortly after surgery. And while I put on a brave face and tell everybody that, I'm going to be okay and you just watch, you also know that there's bound to be some times when there's going to be some depression set in or some struggles and some dark times is what you call them. I call it toe in the abyss. When you kind of walk up and look at that abyss of the sad thoughts, the depressive thoughts, the what could have been, what should have been, what all those negative things. And sitting at night about 2:00 in the morning counting holes in ceiling tiles, which is what you do when you're paralyzed. You look up and you count holes in ceiling tiles a lot. There's about 1,500 holes in every 2x2 ceiling tile.
By the way.
And I was talking to God and I said, I'd really like some kind of strategy if I could. If you could help me with something. I know that there's going to be times when I'm going to be towing that abyss and I want to walk away from it. I want to walk to, enjoy rather than feel sorry for myself. And if you can help me with some kind of strategy, please do. I made promises here and I don't know if I'll be able to keep them. And thought came right into my head. It was put there. And it was what I lived by today. And I live my life 3 days at a time. I'm actually writing a book called 3 Days at a Time. The only 3 days that matter are yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And today's really the only important one. I put 5% energy on yesterday, 5% on tomorrow, 90% on today. And the only reason yesterday and tomorrow are in there because my mantra is make today better than yesterday and look forward to tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if you make today better than yesterday and look forward to tomorrow, you can lick anything.
Boy, it sounds like it did it for you because you made progress that they didn't expect to happen. And I know it was very difficult. It's been almost 5 years. Talk about what you were looking at versus what you're living with now.
So I was looking at, again, the doctor told me I would never feed myself, let alone walk or drive or anything. And my goal is to reclaim my life as much as I can, one day at a time. If it means today I buttoned my shirt, whereas yesterday I couldn't, well, that's the success. That's the success of today. I made today better than yesterday because today I buttoned my shirt. Or today in the process of the journey, today I stood up. Or today I walked 10 steps. So you just push it. And you don't have to push it to the finish line. You just have to make today better than yesterday. That's where I think a lot of people fall down. They I have to do so much better. No, you don't. All you have to do is make today better than yesterday. And eventually it'll be where you want it to be.
And it worked for you because you do have progress that is beyond what they expected. Still yet, you needed a service dog to help with mobility and stability. Let's talk about that journey and how you came to get the beautiful Sunnie.
So coming back to Kansas City after my therapy and stuff out at Craig Hospital, and being mobile, but very shaky. In the beginning, it was straight with a walker. To even think that I could walk without a cane or without anything, which I can, would have been, kind of hard for me to believe back then. But I can walk limited. I can walk around the house without my cane, as long as I've got something to lean on. But she's such a blessing to have with me because in that mobility journey, it's an unsteady. Your balance is off. I don't feel things like normal people do. So you don't feel your feet. You don't feel your legs. You're trusting previous things. Well, in having that instability, having Sunnie walk beside me is one of the best things ever. Because all I have to do, I don't use her to lean on her or to pull her or anything, but sometimes just that someone to walk up beside me is all you need.
I think she just walked up to you too because you were making motions like maybe you needed help right now. And here she came.
She's very attentive.
Yes. You described something when we were talking previously that I don't think a lot of people appreciate as much. Now that I've listened to you, I do. And that was how we take for granted how difficult it is for you just to step up onto a curb.
Those are the toughest.
Yeah.
I can do a flight of stairs better than I can do a curb sometimes. Flights of stairs have handrails, and curbs are out in the middle of a parking lot. The wind's blowing on you. When you're unsteady and there's a 15-mile-an-hour steady wind and you're picking that 1 foot up and you have very limited balance on both feet and you're trying to get that up onto that curb, it can be a challenge. So curbs are giant. And to have her with me, that she's like my handrail.
Makes sense. It does. Any other ways that she impacts your life? I'd love to hear them.
What a fantastic companion, first and foremost. You can see how attentive she is to me. If I have a need, she's there, right there, trying to interpret it and trying to if I knock something off on the floor accidentally, she wants to pick it up. And at first I thought this was going to be funny, but that dog will pick up pieces of paper, tiny little receipts. If I'm out at a store buying ice cream for somebody and I drop a dollar bill, that dog will chase down that dollar bill and bring it right back to me. The wind won't get that dollar bill. She will. So you feel like you're kind of helpless sometimes in that regard. You don't, you fret. I can't drop my keys, or I can't. But when you got Sunnie, I don't have to worry about it. She's my friend. She'll pick it up for me.
And what is the reaction in the public? You mentioned being in a store. Tell me how people react to her.
First of all, everyone. I hear 1,000 times a day, "What a beautiful dog!"
Yeah, she's very pretty
and so well behaved. Oh my gosh! I so want to pet her. I want to pet her so bad.
Yes.
And periodically I'll let people pet her. In the beginning though, we've had her for about a year. You have to really be careful on how many, because it can get her to distract. And then she thinks she can go up and see a little girl that squeals and wants to pet her, and she walks over there and then would pull on me, and that would make me fall over. So even though I want her to give that love and affection to others as well, if I encourage it, then she feels like she can do that, and that takes me away from, takes me out of my balance.
Yeah, she's got a job, and she's trained to do a certain job for you, and that's important. So,
one of the things that I was concerned about when we were getting a service dog was that we've had dogs in the house all the time, and I didn't want just a service dog. I wanted a dog too, a pet, a friend. And I was concerned, and Rebecca, who's wonderful, was one of the trainers, and she said, "Oh, don't worry about it. You take that vest off of her, and she is 100% puppy." And it is. It's an immediate transformation. Vest on and vest off are two different dogs.
We also discussed the impact on your family, having her, certainly on your wife, Colleen, but having that peace of mind, knowing that you've got that extra help. Talk about that and how that's kind of played into your daily life.
I have a lot of friends that went through what I was going through at the same time and stuff. You made a lot of friends in the hospital, and those friends, they're not left alone. They have a constant caregiver with them at all times, and I'm on my own. When I say I'm on my own, but I'm on my own with Sunnie. Sunnie's my caregiver. Her and I, yesterday was a busy day for us. We probably went, did 10 errands in the car, and she's in and out of the car with me, and grocery shopping, and going to the doctor's visits. I mean, it's nice to know that I've got somebody that's with me. If I were to fall and not be able to get up, I could send her for help. She would know to go get somebody, just like Lassie. Hey, Timmy's down the well, and she'd go get somebody and bring him to me to help me get up. There's a lot of things that that's just a peace of mind above and beyond. Whether she works hard that day or whether she works a little bit that day, having her and knowing that I have somebody with me that's going to be looking out for my best interest at all times.
It's nice.
It's very nice.
Yeah. And, we want folks to understand the value of our program and what Canines for Camo does for people, how it really does change lives. I've talked to several veterans, and they are just like you. They explain the difference that the dog makes for them. And we try to go out in the public and convey that message, and by doing things like this, hearing from you, because we need funding, to continue to offer these dogs. If you had someone in your life that was curious about our program, how would you let them know about us and tell them why maybe they should consider donating?
What a fantastic cause! First of all, these dogs are very expensive to train. It's a long process, and there's a great need for them out there for this. For service members who have PTSD, for whatever your ailment is, there's a dog that can be usually trained for that. And while I don't have PTSD because my injury was post-service related, she's very in tune with my emotional well-being as well. And I think it's important to have that as well, because I can see where if somebody has PTSD, how a dog would help them. I have days that are incredibly painful. And when those days are painful, I just kind of shut down, and I'll kind of put my hands in my lap and put my head down and just kind of ride it out, so to speak. And she picks up on it immediately. And she'll come over, and she doesn't paw at me. She doesn't do anything. She'll just lay her head on my lap. She'll stand right here and lay her head on my lap. And that's just her saying, I'm sorry you're in pain today, and I'm just going to sit here with you.
Oh my gosh. What a buddy. What a sweet baby. And you guys, from what I understand, have taken her around. You guys get around with her, don't you?
Yeah, we like to travel.
Tell us of all the places, some of the places that she's been.
She's already been with us to New Orleans. She's been with us to Spain. We went to Valencia, Spain. Oh, goodness. We take her with us wherever we can. We just recently went to Brazil. We couldn't take her to Brazil. We didn't take her to Spain, did we, babe? No, because Spain is not dog
friendly. Oh.
We wanted to take her to Spain. Where did we take her?
We're going to Key West with her.
We're going to Key West.
So basically, if you can vacation domestically, it seems like she's there.
Domestically, yes. We're going to Key West in a couple months and taking her with us. And so the which is going to be her first time in the ocean. I'm looking forward to seeing how she reacts to that lab and how she's going to go in the ocean.
Yeah.
When you travel, you have to see if there are service dog friendly nations. Not every nation is like the United States. So when we travel overseas, there's a lot of times where we recently went to Brazil, and Brazil isn't service dog friendly. So we had hired a trainer up in Kansas City and had her boarded and kind of refreshed her training up while we were gone for 10 days, which I tell people all the time. You have to, when you get a service dog, make sure you have a way to keep that training going. Even though you're going to train them and you're going to keep their training going, think of it like this. You don't get that perfect gym body and then never go to the gym again.
That's a perfect way of saying it.
You have to keep going. You have to keep training.
Because you need that service, and a dog will lose those skills if you don't reinforce them every single day.
Well, you don't have to reinforce them every single day. You have to reinforce them periodically. You have to make sure, if you feel like they're kind of falling off a little bit, then it becomes an everyday kind of thing until they get back on track. But just to bring them, most dogs, once they get that training, all it takes is a reminder once or twice a week to do certain tasks.
They have a great memory.
They do.
Mine do. I have found that they have a great memory. They remember everything.
Any dog owner knows that if their dinner time is at 5:00, they're there at 4:50. They have a great memory, and they can tell time.
They do tell time. They know that the passage of the sun.
They can tell time. Sure. They can tell when you're coming home from work. They know the time you're coming home from work. They know when it's dinner time. They know when the kids are coming home from school. The dogs can tell time.
You know, to kind of sum things up, you didn't get Sunnie for the reasons that a lot of vets get their dogs, but some vets are hesitant. They worry about, do I want a service dog? Do I deserve a service dog? Will it really help me? What would you say to maybe a vet who is sort of on the fence about it?
Especially if you're a dog person, you absolutely deserve it. And you should never think that you don't deserve it. The dog will help you. The dog will, first of all, we talked about, depression, how whether it's a service-related accident or a non-service-related accident, peace of mind and well-being is very important. Depression or anxiety or stress, those things are killers to your rehab, to your well-being, and everything that you do. You're trying to better yourself and trying to get back on track to if not be normal, at least pretend that you're normal. And the dogs help with all of that. Not only the tasks that they're trained for, but the stress relief, the anxiety relief, those are big things that are not really talked about a lot.
And a lot of the veterans don't want to open up about what it is that's bothering them when it's PTSD related. They don't want to go down those corners and open up those doors anymore. But somehow they feel that connection to the dog that's their new best friend, and they calm down a little bit. I talked to Rocky Leopold, who's one of our vets who has Cooper, and his problem through service was that he could not stop being hyper alert. He had during his service, it was so scary that he was always hyper alert. So when he came home, you think, oh, well, you would just be fine, right? You're home. It never ended for him. So just having Cooper, behind him, post up or whatever near him, he's like, oh, okay, my guys are with me. And it can be that simple.
And you're not alone.
You're not alone with the dog.
And so many times you feel alone. You feel like you're not alone or nobody understands you. But I guarantee you this dog understands me.
Mm-hmm. So are you sort of a rock star with your surgeon that put you back together?
When I walked in, I told you I earlier, I don't know if it was during this podcast or not, but I told you that I'd walk into your office for a follow-up visit. My brother was a videographer at one point, and he was visiting when I had that appointment. I asked him to visit at that time, and he videotaped me walking into his office. And I made that guy cry when I walked in his office. And I had every single one of them nurses and caregivers that were in his whole office all come out, and they were like, do you remember me? Do you remember me, Michael? I said, come on. I was in trauma. I was fighting for my life. I barely remember the doctor.
Yeah. Well, what a great thing for you to do, though, because you validated all those people by showing them their care of you, this is what the result was. And so it's nice of you to offer that back. And I'm sure that doctor just went home that night and celebrated that victory.
Over and over again. I go see him once a year, once every other year. I go in to see him just to let him know that I'm still okay and you're still a rock star.
Well, that's so nice.
He says, what do you need? Do you need anything? I said, no, I just wanted to come in and thank you again.
Yeah.
The first time when he was in my hospital room, and at KU, and he said, I said, Doc, I'd really like to thank you. And he just kind of, said, you're welcome. And I said, nope, I need you to stand down at the end of my bed. And it was COVID. I said, I need you to take your mask off because I really want to see your face.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to thank you for saving my life. You didn't bag my groceries or hold the door open for me. This is a sincere thanks. You saved my life, and I'm really appreciative. And he said, well, you're welcome. And that's when he told me that he had done 4 surgeries on somebody's neck that was broken as badly as mine. And the first 3 never made it off the table. So I was the first one to survive the surgery that he did, this type of surgery. Wow. And that's when I said, well, Doc, you don't know about me, but I'll walk into your office for a follow-up visit.
And you did it.
Drove to his office and then walked in.
Oh, even better. Even better.
Getting my driver's license back. That's what I try to do is every year I try to reclaim something, a piece of my life that was, I feel like it was taken from me.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give that power to anybody that they can take something away from me. So every year I try to take a piece of my life back. That first year it was bicycling. I got a recumbent bike and we'll go on a 30-mile bike ride. The second year was hunting. Our second year was fishing. Third year was hunting. And this year we're going to start kayaking again.
You got it all. I'm not sure I can do all those things.
Not in one day. I know I can't do them all in one day. It takes a lot of effort, and I'll tell you when I'm done, I'm tired.
Yeah, I bet you are.
I'll take a day of rest when I'm done doing a day of activity like that, but I don't want to give it up.
When you can start taking Sunnie kayaking, I want to hear about it.
A double kayak with her on there, that would be something, wouldn't it?
It would. Well, thank you, Michael, so much. Your story is just uplifting. It really is. It's just something that people need to hear. And I'm so glad I had the chance. I didn't know it was, I knew you would have a compelling story, but I wasn't expecting everything I got from you today. So thank you for opening up to me.
Well, thank you, Lisa. It was a pleasure meeting you.
You too.